Hello, today's October 9th. Let's go.
That's unceremonious and doesn't give me time to
prepare.
prepare to get into it. But let's start off with a Samsung block. That's weird. We don't usually have a Samsung block. For whatever reason, there's a lot of Samsung news this week.
Oh, wait.
Oh, the air conditioner's
the evil
on.
air conditioner. How many people you think are going to comment?
So it turns out that air conditioner is insanely way louder in the mics than it is in the room.
I mean, it's pretty loud, though. Like, as soon as you turn it off, like, it's noticeable.
It's definitely a frequency that we're too old to hear. But I'm saying how many people you think already commented. It's like, no, the audio's terrible.
All of them.
Apologize.
Probably for other reasons that we don't even know about yet.
So, yeah, Samsung. Let's start out with maybe some bad news for Samsung. Actually, there's a lot of bad news for Samsung in here.
Samsung ends mobile phone production in China. Woo! So they're not going to manufacture phones in China. They're manufacturing phones elsewhere.
Have they said where? I didn't see that.
Taiwan.
They've also got some production. I mean, the whole South Korea thing. That's
where I would have guessed.
Not super prohibitively expensive to manufacture there, but also I think like Thailand and some other places. I mean, they've got factories all over. I worry that the companies that have been able to move their manufacturing out of mainland China will stoke the perhaps misguided trade wars stuff. Like, can you imagine Samsung being like, yeah, Trump, you tell China, tariffs, whatever, while secretly cackling to themselves that people will have to buy a Samsung phone because they're going to be way cheaper because no China tariffs? Surely that would never happen in a global economy.
But also maybe more disturbing what could happen there is China would become more interested than ever in reacquiring Taiwan.
No, that wouldn't happen. They're best friends.
But they did point out that in China, apparently the Chinese people are pretty pragmatic when it comes to phone choices, and they will buy the local brand, which is cheap, versus Samsung. They don't care about your fancy Samsung phone. So,
people after my own heart.
Also, some bad news about Samsung is that they cheated. They cheated on some benchmarks. Shame on them. How much to shame on them? Well, there's a dollar amount.
Samsung owes Galaxy S4 owners $10 for cheating on benchmarks. Anantech's Ian Cutress was one of the first people to figure out that this kind of thing was happening. Basically, if the phone detects you're running a benchmark software, it's damn the battery and full speed to the CPU. I don't care if you're overheating. I don't care if it's 90 degrees C. You will run fast.
Amazingly, this settlement, it was a certain amount of money. They are projecting that $10 based on how many people they think would respond to get there and how many owners there are of the S4 and yada, yada, yada. But the other part of that settlement, they're not allowed to cheat on benchmarks for a period of 3 years.
After that, it's fine.
Yeah. Just do whatever you feel like.
What a weird concession to make. So, I guess for the next 3 years, you can be confident about your Samsung benchmarks. Maybe the bright spot in Samsung's week is the Galaxy Fold. It's here. I think it's on sale now, right?
It's here. That's like, a glowing recommendation.
I think
it exists.
I think it's on sale. I think you can buy it pretty soon if you got an extra $2,000 in your pocket.
It is a thing you can purchase.
And of course, they've all gone out to all of the tech reviewers and so forth. And some people, was it CNET, I think, decided to test it.
Samsung claims that 200,000 folds for the Galaxy Fold is what it's rated for and its endurance. Unfortunately, it broke after 120,000.
Now, they do point out that CNET used this horrible torture device here, which is apparently a little bit different than what most people use to test these things. So
they were streaming this.
It might have been a little bit more violent.
11 hours.
Does it slap it shut? Oh, it totally does. So to be fair, you really get the visceral reaction of being able to hang up on someone with that phone. So surely you would snap it like that from time to time.
I guess so, but maybe not all day, every day.
Yeah.
I think that that material probably would heat up. I would be interested in monitoring this thermally, because there are some materials that you can fold them 1,000,000 times, but if you fold it 1,000,000 times really rapidly and it heats up, that rapidly degrades the number of times you can fold it.
Now,
Mylar, for example.
You check your phone very compulsively.
I do.
How many opens and closes do you think you'd have every day?
We might make 6 months on 120,000.
I mean, realistically, how many times do you think you'd open and close one a day?
On my phone?
Probably just be open
Probably
all
like
the time.
100 times.
I'd say between 100 and 150. So somebody in the chat, multiply that by 365 and then divide 120,000. See how long Windows...
About 3 months.
That'll be the top comment. Calling it now.
We've talked a lot about the CPU game and how the landscape is radically changing, and often we've said, what is Intel gonna do? Right? I mean, they're up against the wall. Actually, I think they're up against a cliff. Maybe they're walking the plank is the best way to say it.
It's in like 300. It's like there's Sparta or whatever. They're just on the cliff.
They have to do something, and it had to be dramatic, right? Well, it's fairly dramatic.
Intel dramatically cuts the prices of its top-end i9 gaming chips. This article is completely wrong. The headline is lies. Intel, they're press people. I know. I've talked to them. They did not cut anything. They're releasing a new 10th generation of CPUs that are much less expensive than the previous generation. Those are launch prices. They're not a price cut. They're not changing the prices of the 7th and 9th gen CPUs that are out there. The 9980XE is still $1,700. But if you want the 10980XE, it's half off.
Well, here's the thing. And we'll never know this, but I would bet a healthy sum of money that without the recent developments,
From AMD, you mean?
they would have been double.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I absolutely would bet all of the gold in Saudi Arabia that, they would not be having this price adjustment on their 10th gen CPUs. Now, never mind, the 10th gen CPUs are basically just a sticker over the 9th gen CPUs. They're going to fit in the X299 socket. There's not even a new motherboard. There's not a new chipset. There's maybe 4 more PCI Express lanes. Going to see how that shakes out. But, I just... Like, this... Intel should have just cut prices on a 9th gen like any normal, sane company would, instead of rolling out, new processors for a socket that has been on the market for 3 years.
Well, you know that. The average investor doesn't.
So this is all smoke and mirrors for investors. It's that bad. That's amazing.
I mean, you still empty out the warehouses. You still, take the haircut, but it looks better on paper. That makes sense. Yeah. Still, I think even with these prices, though, the comparison, you're still getting a better bargain with the red team.
Join, definitely. And join the Level 1 Patreon, because Intel hasn't sent me a damn thing since the 6th or 7th generation Intel. So, yeah, the brutal honesty. It's not good.
Well, to be fair...
Not good for the PR relations.
To be fair, they haven't had any to spare. I mean, they can't make them fast enough, so...
Ooh.
Microsoft had a big event, and they rolled out some new products, and perhaps if you're in the market for a tablet, you'll get excited about this one.
Krista, were you excited about Microsoft unveiling the Surface Pro 7 with USB-C?
No, I didn't really see anything about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah, there's not.
It's a lot like the previous generation. It just says USB-C.
Microsoft has lost their way. Like, they really, except for the Surface Duo, the dual screen thing, which I think is the next article, or I don't know if that. I don't think that
how
was
can
this
you
article.
say that when they released super mosquitoes into the environment?
They dropped it. Well, that's Bill Gates. He's not part of it anymore. They dropped the price, I think, to $749, but that's the 128 gig.
Yeah.
Like the unrealistic one.
Yeah.
So.
I used to be a really big fan of, like, the Surface Pro 3 was an amazing, innovative device. Microsoft really got the formula for that right. They lied through their teeth about support for dual 4K displays. Dual 4K 30, like, the DisplayPort signal out of that is trash. And the best I can tell, they've never really properly fixed it. Had a Surface Book, and the hinge was sketchy AF. Like, a lot of use for it, and then, like, rocking it back and forth while you got an application open, BSOD. These changes, I mean, it's good that they've added USB-C, but these changes under the hood are not substantive enough. They're not innovating. They need to continue innovating.
We
It's
talked
a
about
problem.
the pen last time. Did they do anything to the pen, really?
For this generation,
Yeah.
it's a marginal improvements, but it's not like look at how much Apple improved.
Yeah.
Like, you tried, I think, like the very first generation Apple Pencil, which was garbage.
Well, it had a horrible charging port. Like you had to like plug it in and it would just hang off of your iPad, and it was like a danger to itself.
It's like the Apple mouse where like you plug the thing in on the bottom.
And then it was unusable. Like, yes, that's exactly what it was like.
Oh, Apple, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But now, what, like the second or third generation pencil, you're doing amazing artwork with the iPad Pro.
But yeah, the second pencil is way better.
And we did the video on that and that kind of stuff, so that's fine. Microsoft hasn't really done much with the pencil since their digitizer, since the Surface Pro 3. They've done a little bit, but not a lot. The one exciting device, well, there's two devices actually that came out from the event, was the Surface Duo. So it's real. Microsoft has announced the Surface Duo, a dual-screen Android phone. This looks like the Courier, like when the iPad originally launched in 2009, a decade ago.
Whoa, don't say that.
They had the Microsoft Courier tablet that was all vaporware. This is it. This is 10 years in the making, and it's running Android, which is mind-blowing. There is a bigger version of this that's going to run Windows 10 X, which is designed for like dual screen, like it's a dual screen laptop. This thing actually looks pretty innovative. I'm kind of excited about this. Maybe this is where they put all their innovation points instead of the other thing.
It's kind of like they looked at the Galaxy Fold and they said, you know, aside from this stupid gimmick that breaks it, maybe this is not a bad idea.
It's fine.
The winning formula for that device is going to be to let it pair to things really well. Full-size desktop, keyboard and mouse, like easy, seamless, painless for the user. Unlock more horsepower when you're running on AC as opposed to battery. Like maybe you've got a big dot little implementation where you've got good CPUs and power efficient CPUs, and it does that. And a good experience for keyboards and crap like that on the other screen. Like if Microsoft nails that with Android in the mix, that's going to be an incredible device.
What are the chances that happens?
It's not great.
Well, speaking of unbridled innovation, everybody's favorite electric vehicle company has unleashed the most amazing feature ever.
People using Tesla's new Smart Summon feature are already running into trouble, and it's hard to be shocked. Let me just save you the trouble. You don't like a much more entertaining version of this story. Go to YouTube. There's a new category of videos on YouTube, and that is Smart Summon going wrong.
Now, I wonder, and I'm sure the Tesluts will roll this out, because Tesla has released numbers on this, and they say that hundreds of thousands, well, are there hundreds of thousands of Tesla owners? Tens of thousands of people are using this based on their telemetry, because remember, Tesla watches everything you do with your car. And
it's not in a creepy way.
We aren't getting...
We want to help you.
We're not getting that many reports of failures, but it does seem like we are getting a lot. So it seems to have a really, really hard time with garages, which your car needs to be in the garage. It tends to lock up when it sees people or other cars. It's like a startled young deer, and it just stops. And everybody's sitting there like, okay, you're at a 45-degree angle. You have to do something. And the Tesla's just like, no, I won't. I'm too afraid.
I don't think I will.
And so, yeah, it's pretty funny. People have been testing them in a variety of places, and there's been accidents. And so
there have even been staged photos, which is, I think, in the nonsense section.
I think I put the cop pulling him over. I think that might have been fake. I think that's in the nonsense section.
That's going to be on Friday.
Okay, yeah, I remember that one.
Speaking of Mr. Musk, when he's not innovating and adding new features to his car, he's defending himself in court. And it turns out maybe doing other really questionable things when it comes to those court cases.
Ars Technica has this report. Musk's $50,000 quote-unquote pedo guy investigator is a convicted felon. What an amazing and brilliant legal strategy. So he got in trouble because there was this cave diver, and Musk was like, all right. So he paid $50,000 for Twitter rivalry. What insanity is this? And hired an investigator to investigate the cave diver rescue guy, because Musk did not believe that his motives were pure. And it turns out that investigator guy was actually a scammer. Like, he's a convicted felon for scamming. And so he probably told Musk all this crazy stuff, or at least that's his legal defense. So Musk really did believe that he was a pedo guy because of this guy, the investigator.
They showed this guy's advertisement that he put up, to show that he was an investigator and like his credentials and stuff, and it was almost the Navy SEAL copy pasta. Like,
What'd you say to me?
he claimed to be ex-special forces and all this easily vetted
Verifiable information.
and nothing was tested at all, and he was hired, and here we go. So
Wow.
unfortunate.
That
What-
man runs multiple companies
Yeah.
that are considered highly successful.
Well, one of them's doing good. I don't know what this story. You added this and you didn't put a comment, so I didn't read it.
TSMC countersues U.S. chip rival GlobalFoundries for patent infringement. Last week or the week before, we talked about GloFlow getting all pissed off at TSMC for patent infringement. Well, TSMC has countered back, and it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out, because some of the GloFlow stuff that TSMC is countersued over is stuff licensed from Samsung. So it seems inevitable that Samsung is going to have to enter the mix here based on the countersuit from TSMC. But I don't know. Right now it just seems like a high school fight between, two girls. So we'll see.
It's good because now that we have Apple and Samsung making friends, we need something needs to fill that void. We need a new cat fight.
I hope Samsung was paying attention in terms of like what they did with Qualcomm, because
Qualcomm's what I mean, not Samsung.
So yeah, I mean Apple and Qualcomm are still kind of frenemies, so we'll see.
Shocking no one, Apple has announced more iPhones. It comes every year. People care less and less every year. But if you want a cheap one, maybe you're happy about this.
Apple to release the iPhone SE2 in Q1 2020, which is the iPhone 8.
But it's SE.
It's a cheaper version of the iPhone 8.
And a crappier version.
Yeah. So this is fine. I
It
mean,
doesn't sell phones.
yeah.
I think
Call it
actually
the
though
crappier version.
well, they're figuring out that people are less and less willing to shell out the money every year.
It seems like Apple did put all the innovation points this time around into like their camera, and all of the software is just mediocre. Like if you look for software innovation, Android, like Samsung and Android devices are pushing the envelope of what the software is and does, and Apple is happy with status quo, which maybe says a lot about their customers.
I would say that's fairly accurate, right? I mean, just make everything the same, make it what I'm comfortable with, and sell it to me every year. Versus, I'm willing to take the risk of this wild west of a software
product.
delivery system. Go ahead, give me Trojans. I want to live dangerously.
Or in the case of Wendell getting the slide-out keyboard.
I want the slide-out keyboard. It was delayed again.
Again?
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably not getting it until November.
Right in
Oh,
time for Turkey Day.
How will you live? That'll be good because during
upsetting.
Thanksgiving dinner, you can
Yeah.
just be tweeting away.
Getting that grease all over it.
So, SpaceX, they're the leader, I guess, in private space travel. But Mr. Amazon Bezos is right behind them with his Blue Origin. And then, is Virgin Galactic still doing stuff? You don't hear about them ever anymore.
Is that Charles Bronson?
No, it's not Charles Bronson. I can't remember his name though, which is good because we should know these people's names. But the leaders, they're out there, they're doing it, and we're in this weird world of private space travel. But there's perhaps a new disruptive voice that's coming into the argument.
Startup that aims to 3D print rockets says it's fully funded for its first commercial missions. Relativity Space is eyeing 2021 for its first launches, but you got to see the 3D printed the exhaust. Yeah, look at that. It looks really awesome.
You know what's funny though is they went to the trouble of putting blue lights in everything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that wasn't a staged photo at all. Does look cool though. Can't take that away from them. So literally, they have this crazy advanced 3D printing technology and everything. I imagine there's like hoses and stuff that aren't, but all the big components will be 3D printed on demand. And they say that that's going to make it much less human intensive and much cheaper to get these things into space.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt to make those like rocket exhaust things. So
Not anymore. Print your own, Wendell.
I saw one of those at Udvarhazy in DC, like one of the and you don't realize the scale of it until you're standing there, and it's like, holy crap! Like the one for the space shuttle, like is just
Turns out you need it to be big for, what is it, like 2 million horsepower?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, there's 3 of these. And it's like, good Lord.
Still quite a bit smaller than 2 million horses.
Yeah.
So I imagine, so these guys talk about they've raised all the funding that they want. I think they got like $145 million or $160 million, which doesn't seem like very much money to launch something into space.
3D print it?
But they said we got everything we need. They got a building. They're working on some factories, and they've got a like launch pad area that they're refurbishing. And I imagine a lot of that money will go into the ventilation system because I should have had that pre-clicked.
No, you didn't.
3D printers could make you seriously ill. I think their 3D printers is way different than these.
I bet they're way more capable of making you seriously ill.
This pops up every now and again. What this is talking about is like microplastics. So like with PLA and ABS and those kind of plastics, there's an end that gets hot. It liquefies plastic, and it basically prints in a liquid ribbon of plastic. Well, there's little tiny pieces of plastic that basically vaporize as that's happening in the nozzle of the 3D printer. And we don't know what the health implications are of breathing those fumes and breathing those microplastics. Same kind of thing happened with laser printers. Like, since laser printers have been a thing, because laser printers have microscopic toner dust, which is also really bad. Like, if you just crack open a laser printer toner cartridge and just breathe that, you're going to have a bad time.
Don't breathe this.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. We need to, hopefully some academic somewhere is actually studying this or has been studying
Snorting 3D printer dust.
I was going to say our editor is technically in the room with a 3D printer, so
this. It's probably fine.
they're probably fine.
What do you think's more dangerous? 3D printer vape or dank vapes?
Dank vapes for sure.
Well, clearly dank vapes.
You're not going to get chemical burns from microplastics, but it may cause other problems.
It's a spoiler.
I didn't get to read this one because
Looks like your ad blocker's on.
there was well, it wasn't even the ad blocker. It was because Active Collab has just got the worst WYSIWYG in the history of WYSIWYGs. But it doesn't surprise me.
USA Today, according to Consumer Reports, hidden cable TV fees may cost you $450 extra annually. So Consumer Reports did this expose. They're a little slow on the uptake. Did this expose, and it turns out that the average cable bill has about $50 US of fees that the cable industry themselves have made up. They're not really part of your cable TV bill, according to the cable TV industry, but they're fees that are collected by the cable TV industry that no one is requiring them to collect. They're just putting on little fees on the bills because people won't complain about that.
But they will now.
Well, nobody gets Consumer Reports, and USA Today wants to make sure nobody sees their stuff, so I don't think anybody will really care.
The kind of person that does get Consumer Reports is the kind of person that's going to call, though.
You know what you should do? If you still have cable, you should discontinue your cable service and go subscribe on Patreon. We're way cheaper.
Probably not quite as much variety as your cable
quite.
package, but
You know what?
equally as entertaining.
You know where you're really going to suffer in terms of coverage by doing that? Sporting events.
We don't do a lot of sports here. Esports. They can watch our Twitch streams. Easy.
Amazon has continued to take over the world one small piece at a time, and their latest target is Argentina.
Amazon plans an $800 million data center in Argentina. Argentina, of course, is the second largest economy in South America. Today I learned, thanks to Bloomberg, the Bloomberg article that talked about this, because I was like, Argentina, what in the world are they? Why are they spending almost $1 billion in Argentina? Turns out, Argentina, second largest economy in South America, pretty good appetite for the Amazon digital services.
It's in Buenos Aires, and it turns out they have all kinds of tax breaks. They decided, we want technology here in Buenos Aires. How are we going to get it? Tax breaks. And Amazon said, yes, please.
Please, we're just a tiny company. We need help with the startup cost.
Oh, we talked about Oracle earlier, and Oracle is kind of known. You know how they say that Valve used to be a company that made video games, and now they make money?
Yeah.
Well, I would say Oracle is a company that used to make software, and now they make lawsuits.
Oracle demands $12,000 from Network Biz that doesn't use its software. So and they double down. Like this is not just like ha 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 ha. Let's laugh at this at the register or this kind of thing. So this is to do with VirtualBox, and so this is why I wanted to include this. So if you use VirtualBox and you use the drivers for VirtualBox to let you run USB devices at USB 3 speed, in the EULA, in the end user license agreement, there's a little thing that's like, oh, don't use this for commercial purposes, ha ha ha. So the lawyers looked at these IP addresses that were using VirtualBox with the drivers, I guess, I guess that's permitted in the driver, although this was in Europe, so GDPR, I don't know. And this ISP, it's an ISP, got a notice from Oracle that was like, you need to pay for the software. And the ISP was like, well, these IP addresses belong to our customers, not us. So it seemed like Oracle was shaking them down to identify their customers, like who they were, and to pay the licensing fee. And the lawyers even said in the responses, like, well, maybe you are the ISP, but you're still responsible. And it's like, what? No, that doesn't even make sense. So yeah, Oracle doesn't innovate anymore. They just sue people for using their software. So be careful if you use Oracle.
On to the robots, and this one's not really a robot, but it is really cool, and I think you'll forgive us for talking about it in the robot section.
Paralyzed man moves in mind-reading exoskeleton. Although,
and look how happy he is doing it.
He was quadriplegic, and he was moving all four of his limbs. That's really scary, though. Like this, you got to get this implanted in your brain. That doesn't make me happy. This is like implanting a Commodore 64 in your brain.
That being said, though, I mean, if that's your best chance, I think I would.
Well, here's the thing, though. So this isn't implanted in your brain.
Just on top of it.
In your skull, yes.
Different.
But this is it uses light. These are the little diodes that are stimulating parts of your brain through light pulses, which is crazy. And that can then be converted into movement.
So you can learn how to control this thing. And he actually was learning fairly quickly.
God, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's like your feel-good level 1 story for the week.
He got his implants. Then they made him a video game, and he worked out how to actually translate things in the video game. Then they strapped him into the suit, which, yeah, that's mind-blowing. I imagine that suit, how many millions of dollars do you think that costs?
A lot.
Yeah.
So it's not going to help you. But
if you're someone at home,
perhaps your great-great-grandchildren
can
go to war in these suits.
I'd say that this technology will move pretty rapidly. Like once we figure out a way to interface with nerves that's cheap and easy, the technology is going to accelerate. Because look at how far we came with computers in like the first 10 years. So like the first 10 years is always rapid innovation, but we haven't really figured out. We haven't cracked the nut of a good electrical, non-invasive brain-computer interface.
But here's the thing: you need a commercial, a market. I don't think most people are not going to let you hack their skull open.
Combat vets.
Yeah, but that's still very small. And what are they going to pay with? The VA's not going to pay for that.
The VA's definitely not. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need the medical industrial complex.
Well, that sounds like the worst idea that you've ever had. But maybe this technology will get us a little bit closer because Intel doesn't want to go into your brain. They've decided to do a little bit further down on the body for their invasive surgeries.
Intel wants to use AI to reconnect damaged spinal nerves. A team-up could eventually restore movement in paralyzed people. Yeah, so
here's the damage. This radiating red circles to let you know there's damage.
Oh, our YouTube thumbnail should be that with a red arrow pointing at it.
So the idea is you build a bridge across the damaged part, and then the AI, the neural network, figures out how to connect up those nerves. Now this is a little bit of question mark, because they're not sure exactly how to do that. They're like, you know what? The AI is going to figure that part out. Don't worry about that.
Step 1, build a bridge. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit.
What we're going to do is damage your spinal cord just a little bit above the real damaged part. Put a bunch of electrodes in there, read the signals from those electrodes, relay that through a fiber optic cable located adjacent to your spine, and then the receiver apparatus lower down your spine is going to retransmit that information. So it's like,
It's very simple.
yeah.
Easy, really.
So you got to make the connections, translate it. I guess that's what the AI is going to do. So basically, the AI is going to do 1 million lifetimes worth of movements and try to figure out what's what, and then broadcast it. And then that's going to get hacked.
Yeah.
And people are going to take over your body, and we're going to have zombies.
I'm pretty sure I saw this on an episode of Deep Space Nine where they reanimated a corpse for a prisoner exchange with the Dominion. The guy was dead, but they were controlling his nervous system. It's fine.
Well, we've talked a lot about drone delivery, and we have a drone delivery story every other week, if not every week. But where are they? I don't see them.
Not here.
I can't get any drones, and I desperately want them. And so maybe we're just a tiny step closer.
UPS has gotten FAA approval to operate an entire drone delivery airline. So UPS is behind now FedEx and Amazon with approvals for some kind of drone delivery programs.
There's a little box right in there. Look.
Yeah,
It's carrying them
little
off.
brown box. So you think, all right, finally, well, wait, hang on.
There's some fine print.
Hospitals. But
These are for organs.
hospitals across the nation will apparently start rolling out these UPS drones, and they will continue to study them and see how long it takes to drop something on someone and kill them.
Well, I was going to say, like, when do you think the first flight with, like, a human heart?
I think they might have already done that.
Have they?
Not for UPS, but there has been a drone delivered human heart, and it was basically okay.
Imagine you're driving down the road.
You see
Human
a
heart
wreck?
just hits your windshield.
Well, I was imagining, like, you're driving down the road, you see a wreck, and it's like, oh, I hope everyone's okay, and then you just see a drone come out of it, and it's flying toward the hospital. It's like, oh, no.
You see
They harvested an organ.
the Chinese protesters where they just yank them out and throw them in a drone.
There was a legend that was in the early 1800s. There was a newspaper article about some town where it just rained viscera.
It was
And
here in Kentucky somewhere.
Yeah, they never figured it out.
Probably people making stuff up.
Could be.
I think there might have been photos of it. Like, it was like a big deal.
Could have also been bored people with dynamite. You never know.
Yeah.
But that would have to be really specific directional explosions of multiple animals.
Well, maybe at the end of the nonsense section we'll read.
Dynamite and windy day.
We'll read that story just for you, chat.
Well, drones, they can improve our lives, but they can also make our lives much worse if we are trying to avoid detection, because drones can find things that no one else can, as this man learned.
Fugitive on the run for 17 years has been found living in a cave by a drone. Yeah, I have my doubts that, it's just cave guy. They found cave guy, and it's like, you know what? There's some guy that's missing here.
You know what? He's got healthy looking organs. He's a fugitive.
No one's going to miss him because he's been living in a cave.
So here's his little cave enclosure. I think these are some pretty steep cliffs under here. So he really went out of his way. There's some garbage here, and I think he had something to stop the rain or maybe collect rainwater.
I think they said it was like 25 square feet or something like that. It was a very small space.
So he had escaped and literally had been living so long by himself that he'd almost forgotten how to communicate with other humans. But they found him, and now they're going to lock him back up.
Living the dream.
Was it really worth the effort?
To find him?
Yeah.
If that is not worse than what he was doing before, then that's horrifying.
I guarantee a Chinese jail is way worse than living in a cave in the woods.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've talked about robotic pets before. There was what's the name of that robot dog that's popular?
I can see its little face in my head. But I
And
don't
now
remember.
the Sony
iBot.
one. And then now we got Spot. Spot's officially for sale, although Spot is a little bit more advanced than what we're talking about here. But what if you're old and you might have a little bit of dementia? You can't be trusted to take care of a living thing, and maybe you don't know the difference? Well, the Robocat might be right for you.
Video. Robocats are helping the elderly fight loneliness. This really should have gone in the nonsense section, but it's mostly robot. It's probably fine.
It's fine. Well, this isn't like something that's specific for this use case, because if you scroll down, there's a picture of the packaging. This is a child's toy. It's called a Fur Real Cat. You can find this at any toy store. because I've seen it before, and it does kind of have that weird uncanny valley. Like it's not really a real cat.
That's a real cat. So is that.
Look, the cats do not like it. I get some raised hackles instantly.
So yeah, they're giving old people robot cats. Or I mean, robot may be a little bit of a stretch there.
We should get one of those, and then film your cats reacting to it.
I guarantee you it'd be violent.
I feel like we would be scared of it.
You'd leave it and come back after work. There's just a
Shred.
severed robot head like by the door. It's like, this is what we think of your robot cat.
I mean, the first day I gave them the scratching post, they pulled the little ball off of it and ripped it apart.
Oh,
And they're really rough on their toys.
They're really rough on their water fountain.
Yeah, they take their water fountain apart
again.
every day. It's just a little bit different state of destruction every day. Now, this story, I encourage you to watch this video because the thing that bothered me the most, and I can't tell you why, just something visceral about this. I hate the idea of my food preparation bot making printer noises. Oh, it creeped me out.
Secretive Seattle startup Picnic unveils a pizza-making robot, and here's how it delivers 300 pies an hour. It's literally printing the pepperoni.
But it's not.
Well,
It's not. It's literally just it just puts the toppings on.
So you have to make the dough. I don't know if you have to shape the dough. You might have to grate the cheese, chop the meats, and load it. And what does it do? It uses this little conveyor belt to dump the things on there.
Listen,
It doesn't seem like it's really accomplished.
innovation.
Yeah, it spits out the, and that makes printer noises, and it's disgusting.
It does kind of look gross. Like
It sounds like a dot
video.
matrix.
The printer noise. It's not the noise so much as this. Like I like to imagine it's more like a, like it just like spits the pepperoni out. But it's like every pepperoni makes that sound like a.
So I don't see the innovation here. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's horrifying.
I mean, I guess
You're saving one employee, I guess.
It places the pepperoni uniformly.
But what if you?
Kinda?
So when I order pizza, a lot of times I ask for a smiley face in pepperonis. Like, and this obviously can't do that.
Sorry, ma'am. The robot is incapable of joy.
It is
Look
only
at the
a slave.
sausage going on there. It's so disturbing. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Thanks, I hate it. All right, that's all we got. Friday will be security, right? We haven't done security.
Yeah, we haven't
yet.
done security
And
yet.
nonsense.
See you Friday.
See ya.